is up?
Good morning. How are you today?
Fantastico. Kinda.
Beautiful, beautiful.
How are you?
I am wonderful.
It's a good thing to be.
Yes, it
It's
is.
definitely a good thing to be. So, yeah, we are officially on AHIP launch day.
Yes, we are.
Are you excited to do AHIP again for the 5 millionth time?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm looking so forward to it, especially now that we have to go through all the modules and everything again.
Yeah, the process seems to never improve. So it's part of the deal. If you're in the business or want to get in the business, AHIP is an annual mecca. Those of you that have been on the fence thinking about getting into the industry, now would be a great time, because if you do the certifications now, you get credit for next year and this year, all in one beautiful little shot. So,
Yes, sir. 116 days.
116 days. Well, that's pretty much what sums it up. We're less than 6 months away. We are 116 days away, so less than 3 months, right? So now's the time. Now is the time to start planning. Now is the time to start prepping. The sooner you get certifications done, the sooner that you have access to the carrier reps offering you the best of the best opportunities and retail locations and all those things that you should be plugging into. Creating your AEP plan should start now and really continues all the way till December 7th at this point. And most of what you do, most of what I do anyway, I don't know, I guess I can't speak for anybody else, but most of what I do is make sure that now is when I focus on retention. And so now is when the third quarter is about to start here on July 1st. And so for me, the third quarter, I personally make the outbound calls to my clients for the quarterly call to get that reconnection, work on the retention side of things, invigorate the relationship, find out and identify problem people are having, to kind of get a pulse on the performance of all the coverages that you've been offering this year. So I think it's really important to set up for, I wouldn't call it success, but set up for seizing the moment, taking advantage of an opportunity that comes once a year, the harvest season, if you will. But the harvest season is really more about how many people can we help, because there's millions of people right now that have been put on the wrong plan for this year that have been able to do nothing about it. And now Tyler and Holden and I and the team and everybody out there in the industry now has an opportunity to help fix the stuff. And so, that's enough for me for about AEP for now.
I was just going to note on that, like you said, capitalizing on the opportunities. And part of that too, I mean, all the carriers out there right now, they've got rewards and incentives. So getting that AHIP done, launch day, knock it out, get it out of the way. Most of the carriers don't even have their certs out and ready. It won't be for next week after. So you're not overwhelming yourself, but they also have rewards and incentives so that you can get in there, get on that, get some extra marketing and resource dollars so that you can help plan and prepare and utilize those, get those going ahead of time.
Yes. Ahead of time is like counterproductive for most people they're procrastinators, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think you and I could probably, while we're talking to each other, could go through and knock out AHIP while we're on the podcast. And don't overcomplicate this thing. It's a necessary part of the industry. It's a necessary part of the process. And so, take the time, go through it. Definitely download the slides so that you can, in essence, they're going to put a few changes when you do it this early. I can't remember a time where it's been like a finished product. It's been Inevitably, I think every year, sometime around September, they go, oh, wait, here's some extra modules that you got to go back in and complete because now we've finally updated it for next year. So I don't know. I think the faster you get it done, the sooner you get it over with, the sooner you're back in the pocket, back focused on something else and moving towards productivity again, because AHIP doesn't create revenue. It opens the door for you to be able to make revenue and to make a living by helping people. But the certification process is part of the deal. And so, for those of you who didn't get, I've talked to a handful of people in recruiting, and a certain unnamed upline. One of their favorite things to do lately is just talk people into getting contracted right away. I talked to someone where they got talked into doing AHIP 3 weeks ago. And I was like, did they not tell you that you're going to have to redo the whole thing now? And, so you got to be careful what sources of information that you trust. And, yeah, choose your partners wisely, Grasshopper, I think Confucius say. But how are you feeling? You were under the weather last week.
Oh no, I'm doing much better now. So
Back on the grind.
oh yeah, I put in a 22-hour day yesterday.
That is a grind.
Yes, it is.
Not do that.
Prepping for AHIP, man.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just on a little mini vacation this week. Yeah. So
family time in.
So did you catch the live lead calls that I did the other day?
I did.
So what I think I found was another good lead source, or in my opinion, every lead source is a good lead source.
As long as you're getting leads, it is.
Yes, if somebody else or yourself went through the process to create the activity, whatever level of interest they have, it's your job to cultivate that interest and turn it into a desire to move away from a point of pain. So I can't emphasize that enough. I was rusty. The very first phone call, I literally said, "Is this a good time for you?" Which is like cardinal sin number one. And he immediately, it's like a trapped rat. He saw the opening. He was like, "You know what? I am too damn busy to talk to you." But other than that, and I just said, I got a program out. Don't say the ability to just roll with those kind of punches and know that when you're aware of those things, you can just pivot really quickly and move on. And
you called yourself out on it right away.
I can't stress to anyone who's in the industry how important it is to try to make dials with other people in the room watching you, or other people on a Zoom watching you make those calls, listening to what you say, listening to how you deal with and handle objections and or create. But if, for the most part, on most of the calls where I talked to somebody, there wasn't really a whole lot of objections. And that's what happens when you do the process effectively. That's what happens when you follow a system and a script, because it's the script that opens the door for you to stay consistent, persistent, and offer the same experience every time. And when you can offer the same experience every time, that's when you can start messing with variables. That's when you can try to say, okay, well, I said this way 17 times in a row and I got this response. What if I try to reword it this way? And you need to have a mentor, somebody who's been doing it longer than you, more often than you, and better than you. You need to have them and as many people as possible go through your play film, your game film as possible. So you should be recording your calls. You should be, recording that Zoom allows me to go through and watch it again. Even I am just like anyone else. I don't know about you, Tyler, but I still to this day cringe on some level. I don't like watching myself on video. Right. And that's because we watch ourselves as a critique and everybody else is watching you as like being educated, I'm a student, and it's that dynamic that you've got to get over. But the comfortability of just understanding that these are just people, everybody's just a person. Your job is to have a communication with somebody that at the beginning doesn't want to talk to you. That's it. And there's a ton of scenarios in for real life that with relationships where that's the same thing. Sometimes you got to bring the energy. Sometimes you've got to go above and beyond. And I think those that are afraid of activity, those that are afraid of investing, I said again, don't say the productivity you can get by trying new leads is unmatched, in my opinion. And working a lead is actually having to make a sale. Where getting a referral, somebody else already did the selling of you for you. So there's not a lot of it's a lot like selling a bunch of zero premium MAPDs, selling and then calling yourself a salesman. You're not. If
Well,
you're selling, go ahead.
Oh, you hit the key point though. For us, because we're selling at zero premium MAPDs a lot of time, things like that. We're not. The sale isn't the product. The sale is us. Where our value is what we're doing.
Yes.
And when that's done for you, you're just an order taker. Difference between being a server at a 5-star restaurant and a server at
Denny's.
And not even Denny's. I probably something more like a buffet where really they're just clearing plates and dropping off fresh drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Which is beautiful. Way less entailed on the memorization and details of what it takes to do the job and all that stuff, but allows you to build a little bit more relationship rather than having to worry about, did they want the steak rare or did they say medium rare? Those kinds of details. You can have more fun and be involved with it, which makes it wonderful.
And practice your skills. Practice. I can't say that enough. For when you practice enough, Tyler, I don't know about you, but there's a distinct difference to me in the experience when I'm at a restaurant and the waiter memorizes everything I say and everybody else says at the table, like doesn't write anything down and just gets the order somehow. I don't have that supernatural skill, but those are the kind of skills that can translate into how you can provide a unique experience to everybody else. Because with those kind of folks, I find the ones that aren't writing it down, that do just memorize, they're more focused in the moment. They're more focused on task. And I usually end up getting better service. And so I usually end up leaving a better tip. And I have a higher chance of referring that same location or returning back.
Absolutely.
And too often, too many agents do the one and done model on everything. One and done on the phone call, one and done on the appointment, one and done on the application, one and done on the talking about something. But
one and done on the follow-up.
So we had I feel like Aaron went to wish.com and ordered this thing. We had landscapers come over because we're trying to improve our house on the curb appeal side of things. And so she hired some people and they came over and the owner of the company was there for like 10 minutes and then he just left these other two people there. We didn't know, but he dropped off basically two wild savages who decided at one point or another in talking to Aaron that because we weren't the biggest fans of Biden, they literally mutilated my yard. They're like, we're edging my yard, but it's like this isn't edging. I'm going to try to show a picture of this to give people at home a true breadth of this. And all we could do is laugh at the end of the process. What am I going to do? So this, do you see that? I don't know if you can or not.
Yeah, the autofocus is kind of screwing it up, but
so there is a line.
Trench. Put a moat in for you.
They said we edged and we pulled weeds. And I said, you didn't edge. You put a moat around my entire lawn. And so it was an ordeal. And then on Father's Day, we had to spend the day half celebrating and half dealing with that guy. And the owner of the company did come over, but he only like half-ass fixed it. He put in new edging on like a third of it. And so now I'm going to have to go back through and just do it myself. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'm not just trying to like fill in time with a lawn story. The reason I'm bringing this up is sometimes somebody is going to have screwed up the lawn in front of you. So the doctor's office that you're about to walk into, the church that you're about to go into, the financial planner's office that you're about to, whoever that referral partner you're about to walk into, or maybe even a new client or potential client whoever you're about to go into and see, they probably have been lied to before. They've probably been taken advantage of before. They've probably been promised things that weren't delivered before by another Medicare person, by another insurance person at some point, especially if you're doing referral partner marketing, which I like to call, new favorite thing to call it is deep roots marketing. Like you should be looking for deep roots to set that produce a tree that produces fruit year after year after year, not grass, which can be killed with a simple spray, right? With roots that go 1.5 inches deep. Like as I was doing the edging, I found out very quickly, I think I have another picture of how easy it is to get rid of grass if you just have a shovel. Because I took my wheelbarrow and shovel and the roots of the grass are only go about 2 inches deep. So as long as you can get your shovel deeper than 2 inches, you can take out all the grass. So again, most agents are out there doing grassroots marketing. And if you can come along and do deep roots marketing instead, you will have a very distinct advantage. So don't be afraid that if someone's coming along and they've like completely put a trench where there should have been an edge, don't be afraid to come along and fix the edge. Don't be afraid to come along and change their perspective. And it's always my goal with any person I sit down with is I want to change how they feel and think and look at an insurance person. I want to change the in their mind what they think of when they think of insurance agent. I want them to leave that experience going, what was that? That wasn't a normal experience I've had with insurance. And the reality is you're probably going to screw it up too. Like I said, my first phone call, I did like everything wrong. The guy answered the phone. We listened to the phone call. So that's another thing too. That's probably my new favorite lead type. I like direct mail and I like telemarketed leads. And the reason I like direct mail is I have a card to show, like, this is what you sent back. Here's the card you sent back. Here it is. You filled it out. Here's the proof. With a recorded call, I could literally play the call to them. Like, you're telling me this was not you saying it's okay to call? You listen, ma'am. Are you listening? But at that point, frankly, if someone's arguing with me over whether they answered the call or not, and I already have listened to them, that tells you a lot about whether or not you want them as part of your family, your client base. And the ability to seek out new lead sources, I think, is something that you should be trying a new lead source type once a month. Doesn't mean you spend $10,000 a month on a new lead source, but you should at least dip your toe in the water of a bunch of different lead companies, a bunch of different lead types, sources. Go on to YouTube and take Facebook marketing courses and teach yourself how to do ads. And, or you could just join the Bobby Brock University or the Go Guru University. The depth of the courses in that the other day when Justin was doing some ACA training for our team blew my mind. And so you have access in this industry to a lot of resources from a lot of different people that have put together a lot of time and energy to put out courses that teach you what Tyler and I and a lot of other people had to learn the hard way through trial and error and guess and check. And trial and error usually involves what?
A lot of failure.
A lot of failure.
Wasted money.
And money. Yes, it's spending a lot of money. And a lot of money where you're going, okay, well, that was a very expensive lead. I've had a $1,500 lead many times, and the lead that never answered the phone. So it's not only a $1,500 lead, it was a $1,500 bad lead, right? Bad lead, which, and I laugh when I say that because a bad lead is the only bad leads are the ones you can't get a hold of or can't close.
Well, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And every other lead, you're like, oh, that was an awesome lead. But in reality, there are levels of quality, and the better you can understand marketing, the better off you are when you're partnering with new marketing or lead companies. So as an example, there's not like direct mail I've been doing my whole career. And so there's not very many angles where direct mail companies can pull the wool over my head.
No, that's something we've been doing since I started for sure. So, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
11, 12 years now that we've been doing that. And realistically, there's not a whole lot of variance in what the direct mail leads can do and where their effectiveness is. We've gone full color. We've done white cards, pink cards, yellow cards, and your variance is minuscule. I mean, there are definitely some that work better than others, that's for sure. And certain things like, putting the QR codes on different items like that will definitely boost your numbers, but it's so minimal the way that it can be done. You send a card to their house, they either fill it out or they don't. So it just does it catch their eye and attract them enough to want to return the card.
So yeah, let's talk about that, because I just did a drop and I got the postcard in my mail yesterday, because the companies that I do, I always have them send me a version of it so I know when it hits mailboxes. My new version has 2 QR codes on it. It has a website on it. It has a phone number on it. And it also has the option to fill it out and send it back. So I would encourage everyone to learn how to Swiss Army market. And every marketing piece that you do should have 2 or 3 elements to it. It should have an element where they can call you. It should have an element where they can scan a code or go to a website and go to a landing page. You should get in the habit of recording a video explaining what it's going to be about. So on my T65 seminars.com, I still can't believe that was open when I got it. T65seminars.com website landing page, you'll find what? What do you think you'll find, Tyler?
Well, I'm pretty sure that there's a phone number,
Yeah.
link for the ClickFunnel to sign up RSVP.
That is the funnel. It is the funnel. So,
well, yeah, the contact form to RSVP.
Yeah. So there's one option when you get to the final funnel page. The final funnel page, when you do it right, like, again, there's a website and there's a landing or funnel page. You want a website for credibility only, so Google can see that you have a website, but you don't want to funnel your traffic from Facebook. You don't want to funnel your traffic from ads. You don't want to funnel your traffic from postcards to your website, because then they can easily get caught up in the current, and they can start clicking on home and about us. And the next thing you know, they judge you because the colored shirt you wore or some stupid shit. So instead, keep them focused on the pocket, on the lure. Like if we're ice fishing, we're not like dropping 5 lures in the same hole. We're trying to attract them with one lure. And so you're using that kind of effect that when you drop your marketing piece, where does the funnel go? So if the phone number is on there, and I have a lot of people will say, well, put my cell phone number on there. To me, that's the dumbest number to put on your RSVP thing, because if you're a really good agent, what are you doing most of the time?
Working.
So do you have time to answer the cell phone and take RSVPs?
No, that's absolutely the worst. I mean, that is the number one reason, or the number one benefit that I've had having an assistant, is her ability to be able to receive those calls and be available when people call in to talk to them, or call them back right away, within a couple of minutes, to be able to get them on the schedule. And now I'm not spending an additional 10 to 20 minutes playing phone tag, sending emails back and forth, texting, whatever. Oh, does Tuesday at 2 work? No. Oh, what about Wednesday at 3? No, that didn't work for me either. All right, well, how about Thursday? That kind of crap wastes more time than anything, especially as a sole proprietor, just you agent, when you're a solopreneur with no help.
That sounds familiar. I didn't like being a solopreneur once I became an entrepreneur and a business owner. Looking back, I mean, there's some freedom to it, but yeah,
it's limiting. It's taxing.
It's mentally draining. Like Holden had messaged us this morning talking about people keep messaging him, telling him, slow down, you're going to burn out, which makes me laugh my ass off. But what I told him was what I'll tell all of you. If you're a wolf, don't listen to it when the sheep baa at you. So if they're saying, bah, slow down, you're gonna burn out. Yeah, well, you don't burn out when you love what you're doing. You don't burn out when you wake up with an excitement and you grind all day. You don't burn out. You don't burn out when you do what you love. And so anybody that says don't burn out, they have the wrong mindset, number one. Number two, you should immediately stop listening to that kind of noise and do what I send them to the block party and block them immediately and just filter them out, where the only interactions you have with them is in face-to-face. Because here's what you'll learn about people face-to-face. They aren't going to troll you face-to-face.
No.
They're not going to say those same things they say to you online that they will face-to-face. And if they do, then maybe they are a true friend, and maybe they are looking out for you, maybe saying slow down so you don't burn out. You can burn out, but in reality, I've never felt like I've burnt out. I've felt worn down and tired, and it's being an entrepreneur or a business owner. I think it's normal if you want to quit 17 times every week.
No, yeah,
that's a normal part of the process, because we condition ourselves that we've worked hard and we've done this and it should be easy. It should be getting easier now, but in reality, it gets harder.
Well,
it's
yeah,
more complicated
unless you're not growing, and then you're dying.
Right. Well, then there's a whole new complication to that. And there's a whole new different mindset side of things for that. But the ability to self-analyze, the ability to make adjustments, the ability to find where you're best suited is probably the biggest key to anyone on whether they succeed or fail. Like we'll use Holden again as the example. He could have easily been successful in a multitude of different angles in this business because of his drive, his work ethic, his willingness to be coachable, learn. He doesn't ask questions. He just takes action. If I were to like draw up the perfect ingredients for an agent, those are several of the ingredients that would be on the list, right? And he very early had success with doctor office relationships. And so for him, that is now his favorite type of fishing. So he got hooked, pardon the pun, on the doctor office provider relations, and he's really, really, really effective at that. And now he's branching out because he loves what he do. He has this infectious, beaming energy. And so when you get in that zone, the reason why you don't burn out is because you're continuously getting fed with positivity. You're continuously getting rewarded for the efforts that you're making. Because I don't know if you've been noticing, but like every day it feels like he's sending another picture with him in front of another like 10 to 15 people who are now going to be referring people to him. And if he does that long enough and far enough, and he does what he's supposed to do, which is circle back around and mentor that relationship and mold that relationship and maintain that relationship, the showing up and the following up and the following up and the following up and the following up, if he keeps doing all of that, he's going to become an unstoppable force. He's going to kick us off the podcast and start running it, which in his mind, he thinks is a really close thing. But Tyler and I are going to humble him and the rest of the team next month. So we've taken a personal challenge because our team's getting lippy. They are getting momentum. It's like a bunch of teenage boys who like think they can kick dad's ass now. And so we'll have to remind him. So he likes push-ups, and I'm never going to lose to do push-ups. So we're going to do something else because push-ups don't motivate him, and they don't really motivate me anymore either. So we got to figure out a new game to motivate him. But in essence, Tyler and I have decided it's him and I versus the rest of our team, which is about 29 other people. Yeah, you need Tyler. We know. Oh, so now all of a sudden you're talking shit because I won't compete against the whole team by myself because the team's no longer 13. It's now 30. So yeah, you call that excuse, you call that whatever. But why don't you try to kick the rest of the team's ass there, tough guy? That's what I would say to you, Holden. Yeah, how about you versus the whole team and see how that goes? And then you tell me who you need on your squad. So for many months, all year last year, I thoroughly whooped up on him and the entire team, which makes it fun. This is where the fun part of the competition comes in, and where we all trigger each other's red. But Tyler and I are getting old now, so our red can get triggered, but then we quickly pivot to, oh, we got him triggered too. Now how can we get him to dance with us a little bit? Let's see. Could you do it yourself? I don't know. Yeah, see, he's trying to trigger my red now, but he's not very good at it. But the point being, that's where the fun comes in. When you have a really fun culture and you have a really fun team and you have a really fun energy and you're working with a bunch of people that love what they do, you'll find it infectious. You'll find it fun. You'll find that you'll want to get up early and come on and do a podcast. And really, in reality, we had to choose this time of day for a couple of reasons. One, my schedule is always chaotic during the day, and two, we're 2 hours apart on time zones, and so to make it reasonably fair and maybe watched a little bit, because that's the one thing for the people that are in the top 1% or want to get there. Most of those people aren't available to listen to a podcast in the middle of the day. So sorry about that. We're not going to do ours at noon or something. We're not going to do the Frank the Tank version. I love Frank the Tank. He's one of the hardest workers I know, but good luck getting him out of bed before 10 a.m. Like he'll show up at the office at 10 a.m. and he'll grind till 7 p.m. every day. See, that again, folks, that's how you program it out. Every time you do it, you address it and tell yourself, don't do that. So the ability that Tyler has is different than the ability Joshua has, different than the ability that Holden has, different than the ability that Jimmy O. What's up, Jimmy O? Jim Orlander is one of our most consistent viewers. He is, I don't know if I've told you about him, Tyler. He's a major league scout, and he's looking for a way to transition out of scouting and into retirement / Medicare, which is really fun. I'm honored that he chose us and me and our academy and stuff to help him through that process. But I'm curious, Jimmy, what do you think so far, as you've been, and Jimmy's been taking time to do this right. He's been doing it slow, but just going through the courses, getting as much information and training and soaking up as much information as he can before he hits the field. Sound familiar? Imagine that a former major league athlete and a former major league scout, or current and soon to be hopefully former major league scout, understands the process of setting things up and planning and making adjustments and not just rushing in, although I guarantee he also has an element of fire ready aim in him. And when he thinks an opportunity is there, he probably swings.
When he sees that talent and he knows that it can be molded.
Yeah. And you got to try to keep that energy moving you forward, because this business is hard. This business probably has a similar success rate. Like, I don't know what the percentage is, of people that get to even like single A ball, let alone double A, triple A, major leagues, all those percentages of each person that gets there. Each level requires the top 1% of the top 1% and the top 1% of that top 1%. And there's this battle all the way to the top, to where you'll find usually one or two people battling it out for the top. And the setup, my guess is that in today's world, there's very, very few, if any, professional athletes that watch zero film on themselves. Now, there's plenty of them that probably wouldn't watch any unless they were forced to, because it's their job. But that's where self-accountability comes in, because when you're running your own business and you are your own boss, you have to be the one that holds yourself accountable. You have to be the one that has the discipline. And more props to Holden. I don't know if I would be posting, getting in an ice bath.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't be able to maintain it that way. But maybe that's part of the deal. Maybe because it was posting, or maybe it was being recorded, it helped him with the mental side of it being tougher. Thinking like you have people with you and with an audience. And that is a powerful thing. The pack mentality. Humans are herd animals, And so you can get some momentum doing those kind of things. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about leads. So what's your goal, Tyler, when you're looking for a good lead? What do you think makes a good lead?
First and foremost, got to be able to get a hold of them. Yes.
Good contact information.
Yes, good contact information. That's number one. I mean, for me, the only bad lead is when I can't get a hold of. Somebody died, they moved, is whatever, and we have no way to reach out to them. That's really the only bad lead, because if you can't get a hold of them, it's really not a lead. I mean, it might have been a lead at the time, but
when Jimmy says walk before you run, that makes me think of Stevie Ray Vaughan's Walk, Don't Run song. I like that song. But yeah, you've got to learn to stand before you walk. You got to learn to walk before you run. And then even after that, you got to learn how to run effectively. Because I know before someone taught me how to run, I ran a lot slower than I did after I was taught how to properly, where to be out on my foot. Do you run on your toes? Do you run on the back of your foot? How do you land? What part of your leg? How high do you lift it? All those things go into stride and other things. And paying attention to lead quality is really something that you shouldn't do. And what I would say is every lead, with a few exceptions, had some level of interest or you wouldn't have gotten it back. And it's our job to cultivate that interest. And remember, I can say this because I'm an introvert, but Tyler, are you an introvert, do you think? Or you think you're not? I think you're probably an extrovert a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely an extrovert.
So for me, I can't tell you how many times, it's millions of times in my life, it feels like, where like Tyler will call me and say, hey, do you want to go to the concert on September 12th? And in my mind right now, I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. Sign me up for that shit. And then I forget all about it. And then 2 weeks away, Tyler's like, hell yeah, I'm excited. 2 weeks, we're going to go to this concert. And then this thing happens inside me and I have this regret. And I changed my position to where I'm not really, I am interested. I'm just not interested now that it's happening. And that's an introvert's life. And so you have to remember, some of these people you're calling are the same way. When you call the lead, like when they were filling out the card, they're like, hell yeah, I want some help with my Medicare. Hell yeah, I want to avoid the late enrollment penalties. And then you call, and then what? They're like, I'm not interested.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I feel that out.
That could be as simple as them being an introvert. And so how do you comfort an introvert? Tyler, how do you get me to go out?
I try to, I don't know. That's, I guess, never really analyzed it before.
Right.
I just try to be empathetic to where you're at. Figure out what the objection is, what you're feeling anxious about. Oh, I don't want to go to the concert. I don't know. I got to work in the morning. Oh, I'm not feeling so good, and addressing where your concern is, trying to give that comfort. And like you said, pack mentality to bring you back into, like, come on, we're going to go have a great time. It's going to be amazing. You're going to feel way better. You can show up an hour late to work. You can miss a couple hours sleep, whatever, and try to for you, I usually would try to pump you up in a situation like that, like build the value, what's there, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
100%. And most of the time, I end up having a good time.
Most of the time.
Right? Until I fill up and I've had enough, and then I'm ready to go. And if everyone else is not ready to go, what happens? I give him the old Irish ghost and I disappear, laddies. I'll see you tomorrow, maybe. So yeah, it's again, you have to understand different personality types, different situations, different moods. I saw a post from Serenity and Joe Allman that their dog went over the Rainbow Bridge yesterday. And so, do you think maybe they're in a somber mood today?
I would imagine so.
Right. And so if they maybe 2 weeks ago they sent back a card that they were interested in something, and if the person who got the card back decided to call them today, would they have a reasonable chance of them having some objections to say not now.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Right. And so you've got to allow in your mind, like you can't operate when you're calling leads and working leads. You can't operate as though everybody like hates you personally. Like it's not you. Again, remember, somebody else came along and did the edging before you, and they may not have known what they were doing.
Well, and in a situation like that too, I mean, one of the things I struggled with a lot, and I'll use traffic because that always is the thing, it's George Carlin, right? Have you ever noticed that anyone going slower than you is an asshole and anyone faster is a maniac?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, and you never understand someone's circumstance until you know what it is. So in a situation like, if someone's dog just passed, they lost a loved one, whatever the case is, I probably don't want to talk to them right then anyways, because I'm not going to be able to start a good relationship off with them to do it. So is it a bad time to contact them? Not necessarily a bad time to contact them, but I think it's a bad time to start building that relationship. So in a situation, there is some life events that would happen that would dictate, maybe, oh, okay, sorry to hear about that, and I'll try them again at a later time. I'm not going to give up on it, but I don't necessarily want to get my relationship going and have them remember me as the guy who called them the day after their dog died.
Right. Unless you can create an impact positively for them. So the working leads and all of that, again, research, educate, add value, offer solutions. Let's see. In baseball, once you get to the major leagues as a player is because you have talent. The ability to stay is being confident in your ability. That's so true. Because at the top 1%, everybody has talent. When you're in the top 1%, you're now competing in the big fish pool, and you might end up being the small fish again in the big pool, which that's healthy. That's how without ever being the small fish, you never are pushed to the brink. You're never pushed outside your comfort zone. You're never challenged. You're never tested. And it's all those things because it's easy to perform when things are easy. It's easy to sell the lead when they answer the phone. It's easy to sell a referral when they call you first. It's easy to do all those things. It's hard to keep calling, even though you've called 19 times already and they haven't answered. You feel like they're ignoring you on purpose, when in reality, it could be as simple as you just have terrible, terrible timing. And every time you try to call, they happen to be in the middle of something. Some people are busy. Some people do have things going on. And so what I would tell you to do moving forward is on your lead card, have the person who's doing the lead. If you keep getting an issue with people not answering the phone, then add again, how do you prevent an objection? That's an objection. Then not answering the phone is an objection. Okay, how do I prevent that? Add to the damn lead card the question, what is the best time to call? What is the best day of the week to call? Problem solved.
Address it before it's an issue.
Because when I was thinking about it the other day, those leads that I worked the other day, one of the things that made them really high quality is I knew exactly what time of day to call. Is morning or afternoon better for you, or evening? And 9 out of 10 of them were evening. And so if you didn't notice, I did the call blitz in the middle of the afternoon because I try to be accommodating for the other agents. Like I literally called earlier than I normally would have for the agent community so they could watch. Because normally what I would call for T65 leads, I'm normally going to call those from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. That's my most likely chance they're actually going to be home. And I try to get closer to 6:30 because I want to give them a chance to get home, get unclogged in their brain, eat some dinner, maybe get a cocktail in them to where they're not so strung up, right? So give people time to settle and then call and understand objections are happening because you allow them. Let's see, Jimmy also says, and they have the ability and be able to have the ability to be able to handle failure. That's a tongue twister in itself, Jimmy. And the ability to handle failure. Yeah. So failure, literally, when you walk outside the podcast right here, there's a poster that I walk by every day that says failure is the key to success. Failure is the key to success, because failure means you at least tried, and now you have a point of something, an origination to pivot from. So in baseball, if they gave you the high heater and you missed it, next time, if you can spot the high heater fast enough, you can swing high and fast enough to hit it. But if it's your first time ever seeing the high fastball, what's the chances you're going to hit the damn thing?
Me personally, 0.
Yeah. Us, none. We're not in the top 1%. So if you put us in the pool with top 1% of people, we would be afraid that they're going to hit us because they'd be able to put it within an inch of wherever they want. Same thing. When you watch me and Tyler and other people that have been doing it a lot make phone calls, you're watching someone who has failed at these phone calls more times than you could ever imagine. Because if you think that I just fumbled the football on the first phone call the other day, I've done that on every call all day. Every single call all day where I go, is this a good time? And even though every single one of them goes, no, it's not, I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it until someone forced me to record my calls. And I went over the calls with somebody who was better at it than me. And they went, what are you doing? Like, you trap the mouse and then open the door. Of course it jumped out. Right? And so having those visuals to me, now every time I'm making a call, I visualize a mouse in a box. Don't open the top of the damn box. And when I forget about it, the mouse jumps out and I remind myself, oops, you let the mouse out of the box. 3 out of 10. Yeah, baseball is a perfect example. Like if you're like the top of the top of the top, you're hitting like 300, 350. 400 for a month if you're really in a groove, right? And you'll same thing with this. When you're working leads, you'll start to see habits, you'll start to see trends, you'll start to be able to see where the slow pitches are. And so here's another reason why I really love both direct mail and the telemarketed lead. On direct mail, I can learn a lot, and I mean a lot, about somebody by their handwriting.
Oh, yeah.
I can learn a lot, and I mean a lot, by listening to someone on the phone with somebody else. And I can listen to their tone. I can listen to their pitch. I can listen to if they have an East Coast mentality. They talk really fast. I can listen if they're talking really slow, maybe have a drawl to them, say y'all and how you doing, honey, stuff like that. Those are all different clues on whether or not you're getting a fastball or a curveball or a slider or a knuckleball. Everybody's gotten those knuckleheads when you get them on the phone. They're a jerk to you. Those are what I call knuckleballs. But you can hit knuckleballs too. I say this all the time. I've got 3 clients in my client base that started out our first conversation by telling me, fuck you. In essence, who the fuck are you for calling me? Or something along those lines. And for a while, I would just panic like everybody else and hang up. But eventually I learned to absorb that energy, not return it, not say F you back, not give them the energy back that they were looking for. Because when someone throws a punch, when someone throws a verbal punch, they're doing that so you punch them back. Like they want to fight because they have no other outlet for their energy. So there's a good energy release when you get in a combat of sorts. And so how you diffuse people that are really just upset and angry is you apologize. You emphasize the fact that you're there to help people. And you're not calling out of the blue. You're calling because you asked me to. And so I understand this is a bad time. I'll try back later, and just hang up on them. Don't even give them a chance to come back. What half the time it happens is they call me back and apologize. I apologize. My cat died or whatever it is. Yeah. And then they become some of my biggest fans and my strongest client relationships I have, because I took their punch and I didn't punch back. Oh, yeah. But it took me a while to have that mental discipline, and I had to fail a bunch of times, because there was a few times where I just go, F you back, well, screw you. And then it ruined the rest of my day. And I was in a bad, literally let them control the rest of my day. Instead of me controlling their day and making their day better, I let them make my day worse.
Well, and when it comes down to it, I mean, you see it everywhere, all different speeches, but what is, I'm a control freak, as people would say, right? Like my green dial's in and I'm like, I mean, I posted the picture in the group chat when I finished dialing in my calendar this morning, right? Like, it is booked out. I'm leaving here this time. I've got reminders to go here. I'm going to stop this. I'm getting gas then. Like, the whole week is booked. Is it going to happen that way? No. And it took me a long time to realize it. But what is the one thing I'm going to be able to control that whole week? The one and only thing I'm going to be able to control that entire week. My mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Can't choose what happens. You can only choose how you respond to it.
Exactly.
And respond is the key word, because most people react to situations. You need to learn how to respond to situations. To where I'm terrible at it. I still, to this day, I get triggered all the time. Triggering is part of me that I'm working out. However, I know when it happens, and you can shorten the cycle. Yeah, compete with confidence. Jimmy says, good point, Tyler. Compete with confidence. Yeah, confidence will carry you farther than anything else. Now, confidence is different than cockiness. Cockiness is confidence without any previous results. Okay. Confidence comes from failing a bunch of times to where you're not afraid of the failure anymore and you know how to succeed. That's it. That's the only thing. That's why I have the confidence to just pick up any lead and call, whether there's 10 people watching me or 100 people watching me or 0 people watching me. I still have the confidence from my previous history of knowing that humans are the same. You just got to figure out what personality type, what mood they're in, and where they are in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Because some people, you have to talk to them before noon. Some people you have to talk to before 5. Some people you can talk to any time of the day. Like Tyler and I know this. Connie and John Eha. So they're probably not watching this, probably never will, but we love you guys. I still love them to death.
Love you guys.
The closest thing to Jude and Ward Cleaver that I've ever seen. Like, if you're looking for Leave It to Beaver family of wholesome, authentic people that I've never seen cuss, I've never seen talk badly. I guess I heard Connie once talk badly about somebody, but it's because they hurt somebody else that she loved. Don't say These people are an example of people that you could call. You could call Connie at 2 a.m. and she would be nice as beans about it. You can call her at noon and she'd be nice as beans about it. So she's the kind of perfect client that you would call, who was in a good mood all the time. Other people that I know, you have to call them before noon, because if you call them after noon, they're going to start drinking, or they're going to start doing whatever that takes off the edge for them. And then the farther into the day that you get a different person. So you've got to learn a lot of these things. So low income leads, call in the morning before the reality of the day sets in and they get their hands on the handle or the whatever. If you're working T65, you should be working that in the evening. They're at work the rest of the time. So either call them before work, which they'll get upset about, because what are they focused on? Getting to work. Okay. But after work, you got to find where that line is of when do I call them, which is where the research part comes in. The people that are still working LinkedIn, you're going to find a lot of your T65 people on LinkedIn now. And so if you find them on LinkedIn, you can see what industry they're in. You can get a good idea what their schedule is. And if you get a good idea what their schedule is, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because that's one of the biggest things. Like, when you're calling, I've called this lead, I called the lead. Well, number one, you called it once, and half the time I called the lead, and I've called the lead multiple times. It was 3 times, no more than that. That was it. So if you're not calling at least 7 to 10 times, you haven't called the lead. You haven't tried to, work out the lead. But I called. Well, when did you call him? Well, I called him Tuesday at 4:00. Okay. Well, when did you call? Tuesday at 4:00 every week. I called him at Tuesday.
It's now Friday at noon. You haven't called them since?
Yeah.
You waiting for them to call you back?
Right. And it's the same time. Or, well, I keep calling them, like, turning 65 leads. Yeah, absolutely. Best time, best contact time, evenings, by and large.
Well, and let's take a step back real quick, Tyler. What's one thing that every turning 65 person you talk to complains about?
Being bombarded
by phone calls and mail. So if they're not answering the phone, maybe it's because 12 other people who they didn't send a card back to called them non-compliantly in the last 10 minutes. And maybe you're just swept up in the sea of everybody else calling. And so that's another thing I would say when you're working your leads. My new favorite thing to do is say, good news, I'm in America. I'm actually in the same state as you, and I'm not going to take advantage of you. So good news, I'm not one of those other callers. Good news.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not one of them, because in reality, they're not answering the phone because they're being overwhelmed. And in reality, most of the people I talk to, if they sent back one postcard, they on average send back 3 to 5. And so if they sent back 3 to 5, how many extra phone calls are they getting?
Well, yeah, like with our direct mail, we get the lead. I've got the lead. I'm working the lead. That's it. How many of these places they sent a lead card out and went to a call center, and they've got dozens or hundreds of agents that are just cycling that lead that went through that info, calling them multiple times a day.
Several people on our team recently got leads from their agent manager from United Healthcare. The agent manager went, okay, now look, these are what are called closed lost leads, which means 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 other agents have tried to call these and they couldn't succeed. Would you like to try? And what I will tell you is say yes to those, because every single time I do that, and every person I know that's done that finds 1 or 2.
That's all Tanya did her first AEP. I mean, my wife came into the industry, was it 2018, 2019?
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, she came into the industry. So, number one, licensing is not that hard. She was taking care of our 6 kids. Zach was only in daycare or in preschool for half days. She was watching our friend of ours child for the half day after school, plus taking care of a 2-year, 3-month-old baby. Got her licensing, got her cert, got all over AHIP, everything done. All she did during AP while doing all of that. So, I mean, she wasn't calling like 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. She wrote, all she did was those closed lost leads. And she wrote what? 14 applications?
Yep.
It's mindset, mentality, the effort, timing.
So what was the reality? The reality was those other 8 agents called once, they didn't answer, and they went, well, that's clearly a bad lead, and went on.
Yeah.
And so, again, leads are only as good as the agent you hand it to. I've said that a million times. I'll die on the hill next to that statement, and it's true. I could hand the same lead to 10 different agents, and 1 or 2 of them would close it, and the rest of them would tell me it's a bad lead every time. Because here's what I'll tell you: somebody's going to help that person.
Yeah,
it could be you if you do it correctly. If it's not, and somebody else will do it correctly, and they'll get it. So,
well, it comes down to personality. It can come down to timing, location. You know, I am definitely more of an afternoon, evening person. I can stay up and burn the midnight oil, no problem. And if it's doing something I love, I'm great. It's fine, no problem. But I would rather go to bed at 1 and get up at 7 than go to bed at 11 and get up at 5. That's me. Where Holden's completely opposite. You know, he wants to be in bed by 10 o'clock and he's up hitting it by 5 a.m. every day. So if someone's definitely more early morning wanting to get that going, he might do it. Or vice versa, hand holding a lead for Cattaraugus County, New York.
100%.
Make everything equal between the two of us. Who's going to close it? Me, right? That's where I'm at.
Mentality. You know? That's that confidence, right? You got to go up to the plate and swing with confidence as though you've hit it a million times, even if you haven't, because that confidence will make you, the fear of failure will keep you focused on the fear. If you're focused on the objective or the success point, then that's oftentimes what happens. So visualization is key. So Paige, this last story, then we're going to get off because we're out of time. Paige has been trying, she wants a new bike. She's clearly outgrown her other bike, but we're trying to get in her habits and consistency, because that's frankly her old man's one of my problems sometimes is keeping my stuff consistent. So she just needs to do her chores for 14 days in a row. Her chores are pick up her clothes in her room, make her bed, brush her teeth, and feed the animals. Feed the hamster, feed the dog, feed the cat. Those are her chores for the day. If she does them 14 days in a row, I'm going to get her a new bike. She's hit 7 days once and then failed. Then she hit 10 days. You know, and so we were working our way to the 14, but that process of putting things in front of yourself to help build the structure that you need to have, you need to have someone in your life that you listen to that coaches you to make sure that you're making that progress. And so if you're just out there trying to do this all on your own and you're not plugging into other resources, you're not plugging into groups, you're not plugging into resources, you're going to fail. So I would encourage you to be childlike, be coachable, learn, ask questions. And that's my favorite part of being a dad. One of them, I would say. Jacob's like a little miniature version of myself. And so watching Erin and how she interacts with him and manipulates him, like, son of a biscuit, she does that crap to me. Like, that's the technique. And so then I learn how to deal with someone like me and how to get me to, that's why I'm fascinated by it. That's why I asked you earlier, how would you get me to go out? How do you motivate me? Because Erin has it. She has the hack down. And so, yeah, I'm going to leave you with this. The Medicare Machine Factory has a bunch of stuff coming up. So we just announced and launched.
We've got our boot camp next week.
We've got the boot camp in Charlotte next week. So if you're in the Charlotte area or anywhere on the East Coast, it's not too late to get a seat. So if you're interested, reach out to me or Tyler and we'll get you a seat. Okay. We also have the Launch Con, AHIP Launch Con, which is a conference that's going to be like unlike any other. In essence, what we're going to do is a combination of a conference and a workshop, and you're going to leave there with not just the blueprints. We're going to like force you to go through and do a lot of the things. So you're going to learn how to create momentum. You're going to learn how to write the email you're going to send to your clients to get more referrals. You're going to learn how to set up and execute a client appreciation lunch, even if you have no money. Okay. We're going to give you all the ingredients on how to have your best AEP ever. And so I'd really encourage you to go to the Launch Con in person. It's going to be in Tennessee. We are working on finding a venue that'll be appropriate. It's either going to probably be in Nashville or Knoxville, Tennessee. So those are the two cities we kind of narrowed it down to. Middle of Tennessee, middle of the country, about the same flight for everybody to get to. That's kind of what I was looking for. But this is going to be a conference unlike any other, and you're going to wish you were there if you're not, because anybody that goes there is going to do twice as many apps as they would have they not gone. We're also doing a virtual. So I get that every year. Is there a virtual option? Is there a virtual option? I get it. Travel, hotel, all that can add up in cost. Some of us are trying to start out in our business, not trying to bury ourselves with cost and expenses. So we will do an abridged version. So the in-person conference is a 2-day conference, immersive experience. The virtual Crush AEP virtual workshop bootcamp is a 4-hour abridged version. We're going to give you the recipe and the ingredients, but we're not going to go through the workshop side where we tell you how to apply the information. And Tyler and I are also available for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, even if you're not in our upline. We'd love to work with you and help you in some way, shape, or form, get to the next level. This industry has changed both of our lives, and we are very passionate about giving back with not really an expectation of return. What I have is I have an expectation of return of passion, return of integrity, return of showing up and all of that. And so that's the main reason most of these things we're doing, like the boot camp I did in Orlando, I lost $2,000. The boot camp I did in Memphis, I lost $1,000. So I'm not doing this crap to make money. I'm doing this crap to help the industry, and I have to charge some level of money because my plane ticket to get there and the rent the room and the lunch and everything else costs money. And so in essence, I'm GoFundMeing by charging an admittance fee. But if you take action now, there are codes. So watch for the videos I posted last night. Go to my page, go to any of them, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, the Facebook group, any of those. The video I posted last night has the coupon code for you to get 20% off of either event. It also has the QR codes and the websites that you can go to reserve your spot. They will fill up. We will have seats not available. Somebody's not going to be able to go that wants to. I'm setting it up that way because I want this to be something. I'm not trying to get as many people in seats as possible. I'm trying to get as many people that want to actually change their career in a room as possible. That is the key difference. So with that being said, Tyler, you have anything else you want to throw out there?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head as we opened it up. The main reason both you and I, this industry's changed our lives, but the impact we've had on other people and seeing where that changes is what it's about. And that's the ROI for us on that. So that was how we opened up. And I think that's a great way to close.
100%. I am Joshua Youngs, the Medicare Machine. He is Tyler Tingu, or Ting, depending on who you talk to. And we are the Medicare Machine. We are running the Medicare Machine factory, and we are hoping to help you. So have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.